Hey folks, it's good to see you. I would like to start this video on a slightly different thread to what I normally do on these YouTube videos. This video is about gratitude, and I would actually like to begin through an expression of gratitude. I want to thank each and every one of you. Each and every one of you who watch these videos. Each and every one of you who follow me on social media. Each and every one of you who come to my live events, my talks, my workshops. Each and every one of you who I've worked with one-to-one personally. Because the fact is, guys, I have a dream. To quote Martin Luther King. I have this vision and this dream of what I want from my life personally and what I want to create in the world as a whole. And I can't do this by myself. I need the help of others. I need the support of others. I need the engagement of others. I want to create a movement, a community, a society, and I can't do that by myself. So for each and every one of you who engages with my content, who shares my vision, who helps me get a little bit closer to my dream and my vision of what I want the world to be like, I want to say thank you. Because it really means a lot to me. And you guys do so much for me. And you might not think that you do anything for me per se, but all of this really adds up in a really meaningful way. And I just wanted to start this video off by expressing some gratitude for that and saying thank you. Because times can be tough when it's just little old me working on things, but knowing that I'm reaching people, knowing that I'm connecting with people, knowing that I'm serving the world in some small fashion is really helpful. And for that, I'd just like to show my appreciation. So that starts off the video on gratitude. Let's look at gratitude a little bit more, because I want to give back to you guys. I've been on a personal transformation journey these past few years. I'm continuing on that journey, but I'm now ready to give something back. And I've just written a book about my experiences, my hardships, my struggles, my lessons, my growth, and I'm giving that to you guys very, very soon. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later, but first we'll launch into some teaching. Because in that book, I'm talking about 3 key lessons that I've learned in my life. And the first lesson is about gratitude, what we've been talking about so far. And I believe that a regular expression of gratitude really helps to create a shift in our lives and allows us to live a more positive, more vibrant form of living. Because that's certainly what it's done in my life. And I feel that too many of us nowadays are living in negativity and we're living ungrateful lives. And I don't mean that we're being deliberately or consciously ungrateful. I just mean that we're being ungrateful simply because we don't have enough gratefulness in our lives. Because everywhere around us, there's a lot of negativity. The news is negative. Other people have plenty of negative things to say about themselves, about others, about us. And of course, we like to be our own worst critic, don't we? A lot of negative thoughts and self-talk are directed our way. And I think gratitude helps to reverse the script on this and bring more positivity into our lives. And I have a 3-part framework that explains how gratitude can have such a powerful effect. And we're going to cover that right now. It's the 3P framework. So, first P is physiology. What happens in our body when we express gratitude? Now, there's a couple of cool benefits that come from regular expressions of gratitude. Research has found that people who express gratitude frequently exercise more, have less cardiovascular problems, and less trips to medical practitioners. Looking into this a little further, getting into the specifics, people who express gratitude have increased levels of the hormone DHEA, which is commonly seen as our anti-aging hormone. They also show elevated levels of one of our antibodies called an IgA antibody. And this is like the first line of defense in our immune system. So that's what stops us from getting ill in the first place. It's like the gatekeeper. And so these findings explain, possibly, or provide some illumination to the fact why people who express gratitude on a regular basis seem to be healthier. Gratitude seems to have some positive physiological effects that are conducive to good health. Now these are all great, and I think that they're good reasons to express gratitude. But for me, the real clincher is looking at a hormone called oxytocin. Now oxytocin can be seen as our love hormone. And oxytocin is released by acts such as kissing, holding hands, cuddling, and when we give and receive gratitude. So the act of gratitude physiologically is an act of love. I believe that's what makes it so powerful. And oxytocin has a really interesting effect in our body. Oxytocin actually shuts down our pain and stress receptors. Think about it. Think of a child in the playground and they fall and scrape their knee. What's the first thing that they'll do? They'll run to a teacher for comfort, or they'll run to their mum if they're in the play park, and they'll get their mum to kiss it better. So the mum kisses the knee better, the teacher gives the child a cuddle, and what happens? Suddenly everything's right and rosy and the child goes running off again and starts playing, don't they? Now this isn't just some childish ritual, this isn't a placebo effect. The affection from the teacher or parent triggers the kid's oxytocin. Their system floods with this hormone and it shuts down their physical pain receptors so they stop feeling the pain. Now how awesome is that? And I also feel that gratitude doesn't just do this for physical pain, it does it for psychological pain. I believe that gratitude is the antidote to anger, sadness, and fear. Because we cannot be simultaneously grateful and angry, simultaneously grateful and fearful. And this leads into the second benefit, the second part of the framework, the second P, which is psychology. What is going on in our mind when we express gratitude? So as I said, I believe it is the antidote, or the reverse, the opposite end of the spectrum to some of these negative emotions that we feel. But I also think gratitude helps us to cultivate a very important mindset shift, and that is the win-win mindset. This is something that the late great Stephen Covey talked about. He talked about how most of our society nowadays is scripted by a win-lose mentality. We believe that we can only get something at the expense of something else or someone else. And of course, naturally, we would rather get that something, we'd rather get the win, so we do so at the expense of something else. And guys, it doesn't have to be this way. We can have a win-win mentality. We can realize that there is abundance around us, that everyone can win, there is enough to share, there is enough to go around. And I believe that gratitude really helps to cultivate this feeling of abundance. Because when we regularly express gratitude, we see how much we really have in our lives. We see how much we really are as a person. And because of this, I believe that gratitude ultimately leads to happiness. Because if we're satisfied with what we've got, if we feel abundant with our circumstances and who we are as a person, then we will always be satisfied. And thus we will always be happy. Because you can see the flip side of this. If we feel that we don't have abundance, if we feel scarcity, then we feel that we never have enough. We feel that we never are enough. And thus we will never be satisfied. And thus we'll never be happy. And that is the second reason why I think that gratitude is so key. Because of this psychological shift that it enacts. And then that leads us onto the third part of the framework, the third P, which is practice. So gratitude has these effects physiologically, psychologically, but how do we actually put it into practice? How do we regularly cultivate and express gratitude in our lives? So I have a number of practices through which I express gratitude, but for now I'll just share my favorite one with you, and that is the gratitude journal. There was a really cool study done on the gratitude journal, And what they did was they got participants to, for a week, write down every night before they went to bed 3 things that they were grateful for. And they measured their happiness scores at the start of the experiment, and then after 7 days of writing that gratitude journal. And what the researchers found was that over those 7 days, there was a 2% increase in happiness. Small, but significant, and pretty good considering that was just a 5-minute practice for just 7 days. But here's where things got interesting. That study was only supposed to last 7 days. But the participants had found so much benefit from writing that gratitude journal that they kept on doing the practice. And the researchers suddenly realized that they had an opportunity on their hands. So they continued to measure the participants. And so after a month of writing the gratitude journals, they again measured their happiness scores. And what they found, there was a 5% increase from when they had first started. And the participants kept on doing the practice. So the researchers did another follow-up after 6 months, and they found a 9% increase in those happiness scores. Now that's nearly 10%. 10% is a huge increase considering this was just one single practice, once a day, that didn't take much more than 5 minutes. Now I'm sure that we all have 5 minutes in our day, and I'm sure we would all like to be 10% happier. So this is how we can do it, by writing a gratitude journal. And the premise is simple. Just every night before you go to bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for. That might be something that's happened during the day, something that's good, or it might just be a more general appreciation for the circumstances of your life. Either way, just write down those 3 things. Because often we have a tough, stressful day. Not a whole lot has gone right, it's just been a real shitter. And we just want to get to bed, go to sleep, get over and done with. But the problem when we do that is we take that negativity into our sleep with us. And researchers found that a gratitude journal actually helps to improve our sleep quality. Now why is this? Expressing that gratitude right at the end of the day shifts the perspective that we've had on that day. It creates a positivity bias. Because we look back on the day and we focus not on the things that have gone wrong, but the little things that went right, or the things that we still have despite the circumstances of that day. And that's what makes it such a powerful practice. And that is the one that I would recommend to you guys if you want to start out with expressing gratitude more frequently. So, what was your takeaway from that? What is something that you thought, hey, you know what? That's pretty cool. I think I can express gratitude more in my life. I'd recommend just start doing that diary. It's 5 minutes a day. Measure yourself after 7 days. See how you feel. If you're anything like the people in that study, you might want to go on and do it a little longer. And who knows, you might just find that 9% increase in happiness after those 6 months. So if you like this video, guys, a couple things that I want to remind you to do. First of all, make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you can keep on getting these videos on a regular basis. If you particularly liked this video, then be sure to give it a nice thumbs up and give it a share to anyone that you feel would find it useful. Also, I mentioned my book at the beginning of this video. This is one of the key lessons that I'll be covering in that book is gratitude. I'll be talking about that 3P framework. I'll be expanding upon that framework a little more. If this book is something that you think would interest you, then there should be a box appearing around about now where you can click and pre-order the book. And if you're watching really far in the future, then the book is already published and you can get it right now, again, by clicking that link. So guys, I hope you'll subscribe, I hope you'll check out the book, I hope you will join me in the next video. But until then, remember to always love inwardly and shine outwardly.